Okay, this video is going to be very different from all the other videos I've ever made before. This video is going to be a little bit emotional and also a little bit more of a call to action as opposed to just plain flat out me talking into the camera and talking about shit I've done. This is different. This is me angry about stuff and I'm emotional, and if you didn't read the blog post that I'm about to be talking about, then maybe this will come out of left field for you. So let's recap all the events that have led up to this video right now. Background. So, once upon a time, I got a post put on my page. I am Stonewall Kanto East block leader. I am also Stonewall vice president. And there was a post put onto the account that said of a event that happened at Bar Goldfinger. Bar Goldfinger is considered one of the pioneers of Nichome because it's a lesbian bar, and the owner, Chiga Ogawa, has been around for a long time in the LGBTQ scene in Japan. Has tried to promote events, has talked about same-sex marriage, has been a big proponent and push for gay rights and lesbian rights, specifically in Japan. Okay, there. But then there was something that happened. On a day, on Saturday, which is considered a women-only day at Bar Goldfinger. They have these nights where women only are allowed to come, and it's supposed to be a safe space for lesbians to meet other women, and that's it. There are mixed days. There are also female to male transition days, but in this particular event, something happened that was a little bit wrong. A lot wrong. Fucking awfully wrong. Okay. So, a woman named Ellen McCready, she has actually put up in her Twitter post a huge email she sent to Chiga about this event afterwards, where she went to the bouncer and she said that she was going to come in. And the bouncer looked and said, even though your marker says F, we're not letting you in because chatto, you don't pass as female to this bouncer. And then staff management got involved. I cannot recall right now if it was exactly Chiga Ogawa who came in and talked over, or if it was just some manager at the time. But regardless, Ellen was not allowed to go in to the lesbian bar. The DJ got pissed off. There was a lot of yelling. And then they were not allowed into the bar. And Ellen sent an email to Chiga that talked about this issue. And the response to that was not a good one. So they sent out so Ellen sent out the email, put it up on Twitter, and asked for a response. The response was then that on the sign for Bar Goldfinger, it put in tiny print under the bottom, cisgender only. So basically, in response to being called out for being transphobic, Chiga Ogawa doubled down and went full on into Terf territory. If you don't know what a Terf is, it's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. Although I disagree with the term if you're not actually for all women, but whatever. So, just went full on into Terf territory and decided that, oh no. No matter what, if you weren't born with the right genitals, then you're not allowed into the club on women-only nights. And that has caused a huge firestorm to erupt on Twitter, on a whole bunch of different blog posts, and etc. in Japan. And it's gotten to the point where even now celebrity Ellen Page has asked Goldfinger to remove her video from their website and any images associated with her as promotion material for Goldfinger for the trans exclusion. And now the sign for Bar Goldfinger has changed again. And instead, now at the bottom, instead of saying cisgender only, it's now saying that if you don't fit the criteria or you're not the person they want at the event, you may be asked to leave. So cisgender only then, it's still the same thing. So a lot of people have tried to counter argue and have tried some really bullshit excuses for this whole thing, such as, well, it's a lesbian bar, like it's women only. That's transphobic. What you're saying then is that trans women are not women, and that's not okay. Trans women are excluded from so many spaces. Trans women have the issue of where if they go to a gay bar, they could get hurt. Trans women, trans men, they experience a shit ton of violence and a shit ton of discrimination. There's not many safe spaces for them. And then on top of that, like there is nothing to put up on their website or even at the events that it's anti-trans. So you just kind of find out once you get there. That's not cool. Now, I would have actually preferred if they had just kept their cisgender only sign to a certain extent, because at least that's honest. Like, that's the honest truth of what the bar is standing for at this time. So, fury, anger, frustration. Other counter arguments are, well, Chiga Ogawa actually, like, employs trans employees. That's not the point. The point is that they are kicking out people who are trans because they don't pass. Like, that's gatekeeping. That's telling trans individuals that unless you look a certain way, unless you've gone through all surgeries, unless you've done all these things, then we maybe will approve your presence in as a woman. That is transphobic. You should not be demanding that people adhere to your specific ideals of what a female looks like, or what a female should act like, or etc., etc. Like, what do you want? A Southern belle with a parasol? Like, you cannot define what feminine is exactly the type of feminine of the line to come into a lesbian space. And many people nowadays are not exactly feminine. Many people are non-binary. I actually have a video that I wanted to come out with soon of where I come out as not only bisexual, but I'm coming out as genderqueer. And I'm putting this out a little bit early, but whatever. So the idea of like gender is kind of becoming not such a very distinct static category anymore. Nowadays, there is an understanding that gender is very much a social construct, and it's not really so much in biology. You will hear many, many people try to argue this, but chromosomes do not mean that you automatically have to wear pants or that you have to wear dresses. I'm sorry, it's just the fact. Like, you don't. Now, that's a whole other tangent we can get into later. But basically, the idea of gatekeeping, that you can only be this certain way and then we let you into the space, that's not okay. That's not good. That is terrible. What happens to trans individuals when they don't pass is awful. There are so many people who have died. Right now in Texas, there are a couple of like trans-related murders, and they're kind of getting swept under the rug because it seems as if nobody cares. Especially Black trans individuals. They die at such a high rate, and it's absolutely awful. And we should not be excluding them from women's only spaces or men's only spaces because they're trans. They need our support. They need our help. They need safety. And people who then counter argue with, well, what if it's just a man dressing up as a woman and he just wants to hit on girls? Assault is illegal. Harassment is illegal. Stalking, all of those things are illegal. Like, if somebody is gonna be an asshole and do criminal acts, they're gonna be a criminal. If somebody's hitting on you, you're saying no, and no, and no, and they continue to hit on you, yeah, they are the asshole, regardless of gender, and then you can ask the bouncer to please kick this asshole out. Like, just because you give access of a trans woman into a women-only space does not mean they're gonna act like a man. And that's just, no. That's not how this works. Trans women are women. They want to be in trans-friendly spaces and in women's spaces because that's where they feel safest and that's where they feel like they should belong. And they're right. They are not wrong. They are right. And so whenever we have that argument of, well, it's just a man dressing up as a woman, that's transphobia. That's just transphobia pretending to care about safety. That's Terf talk. That's people who don't believe that no matter what trans individuals do, that they will ever pass or ever be accepted as women. as trans women or men as trans men. Like, this is a stupid argument, and it's not true. And the idea of, oh, well, it'll make other people uncomfortable. So what you're telling me then is you're trying to create a clientele base that's transphobic. Like, you're allowing transphobia to be in your clientele base, in your customers. Like, you're allowing that to be a part of your space. And that's what you want to cultivate within your space. No. If that's what you're going for with your customers, that's not cool. If you're allowing transphobia to occur in an LGBTQ space of any kind, that's not okay. You are allowing and encouraging transphobia then. That's not good. That's not okay. People, if they are uncomfortable, that's on them. That's not on you. And that's something that they have to work on. And if they think that trans women are not women, then you stand up and say, you know what? You can leave. Don't allow people who are transphobic to run your business. That would be like if you allowed somebody to be like, well, they don't like black people, so we're going to have white-only spaces. No. It's wrong. It's a civil rights issue. It is something that is equal rights. We need to have equal rights for everyone. LGBT. T is in the damn acronym. It's part of the basic acronym of LGBTQ. If you are not standing for the T, then you don't get to be a part of Pride, and you don't get to be a part of the community. Sorry, not sorry. So, right now, the whole lot of stuff is going on. Ellen Page has responded. A lot of people have been asking Tokyo Rainbow Pride to get involved and to mediate the situation. I don't think Tokyo Rainbow Pride's gonna do shit. Honest fact. I think that 2 years ago when I talked about the fact that they didn't, last year, they didn't, even invite drag queens because they didn't want that, image to be associated with Tokyo Rainbow Pride. So now, the mediation between Goldfinger and the rest of the community, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think it's really stupid to try and hold out hope that Tokyo Rainbow Pride's going to try and help in this situation. Here's what I think you should do. Right now, boycott Goldfinger bar. If you are LGBTQ, do not go to bar Goldfinger. Just don't do it. Until they have a succinct apology, until they allow trans women to go into their bar, don't go there. And many people, I should go back for a second. Many people are arguing, oh, well, they have an FTM night, which is female to male. So trans men are allowed. But here's the thing. So the only person then that you're excluding are trans women. So you're saying that then trans men are still women? That's the thing. You can't have it this way. You cannot have it this way where the main focus is on genitals and biology, and that's your approval status. So basically men who kind of were women once upon a time in your head then are still women? Is that how this is going? I may be putting words into the mouths of Chiga Ogawa and Goldfinger, but that kind of seems what they're going for. It seems as if the only people they want to exclude are very much trans women. People who they believe have only ever been men and are only ever going to be men in their minds. And that's transphobic. That is Terf territory. That is not okay. Now, I know that the year of 2019, as many people have called it, and the year of 2019 is the year of cancel culture, as in canceling bar Goldfinger. Here's the thing, and here's the thing that's going to make people go, what the fuck do you talking about? I don't want bar Goldfinger to go out of business. I don't want bar Goldfinger to be canceled. Here's what I want. I want Chiga Ogawa to get educated. I want her to apologize. I want her to allow trans individuals to come into the bar and to stand for their rights. Chiga Ogawa is in fact a pioneer in the LGBTQ community, or LGBTQ community, but regardless, needs to be educated on what it means to be a trans woman and needs to allow trans women into this safe space. Make it a safe space for transgender individuals, trans people individuals, something along those lines. I don't think that there should be a cancellation of bar Goldfinger. I do demand that they will, that they will change their ways and that they will, in fact, stand up for trans individuals but I don't think they should be canceled. And you're gonna be like, what the fuck? But you're so angry, and your blog post especially sounds like really fucking mad. I am really fucking mad. I have trans friends who honestly come to me and they have told me some shitty stories about things that have happened to them in Nichome, about lesbians or gay men, whether they be trans men, trans women, or non-binary or genderqueer, and everything in between, where they have been, discriminated against because they're trans. That's not good. That's not what we want in Nichome and in the Tokyo community of LGBTQIA+ness. We need to have a stand up and support for everyone involved. We cannot be doing this. We cannot be excluding people that we think do not pass. And we cannot be excluding people and leaving them alone out there so they can be hurt, so they can be discriminated against, so that they can then possibly be killed for who they are. In Japan, it is true that it is highly safe. It's got one of the lowest homicides rates in the country, but violence still happens here. We just saw that not too long ago with the Kawasaki absolute tragedy that just happened. Violence can occur. Discrimination definitely still occurs here. People lose jobs for being LGBTQIA+. The only place in Japan that has protections is Tokyo. That's it. That's the only place that has like a law against discrimination where you should not be able to lose your job because you're LGBTQIA+. The rest of the country does not. There's nothing. There are no protections in place. So we need to come together as a community to get same-sex marriage, to stand up for gay rights, also trans rights. For example, in order to be trans in Japan, you're demanded to be sterilized. That's not okay. That is awful. So basically, the idea of you becoming a male or female in Japan is on the exclusive, what's the word, on this one thing in the law that says that you cannot be allowed to have children. So you are sterilized, so you cannot breed. That's not okay. That is awful. That is transphobic. That is terrible. And you can talk to me forever about, oh, you're trying to be an SJW and change the country and No, this is a basic human dignity right. You shouldn't have the government sterilizing you left and right because they don't agree with what you do with your own body. That's not okay. That is awful. That is terrible. No. The government should not have a say in what happens to your body in order for you to be accepted in the court of law as a man or woman. No, absolutely not. No, not okay. That is body mutilation, in my opinion. And I think in most cases, I think even the Human Rights Council or the United Nations, they all agree with that idea. So no, it's not okay. We need to stand up for their rights. We need to be able to fight with them and to stand with them against all of this discrimination and transphobia that does exist. It is here. So now, on that note, cancel culture. Don't think that Goldfinger needs to be canceled. I think it just does need to have the owners shaken up and realized that they need to learn and to be educated on what trans women are in fact women. And why. Everything, all about it, and about what they're doing is dangerous and wrong, and as a pioneer and a role model for the lesbian community in Japan, what they say matters. It creates a ripple effect across the rest of the community. They cannot have this. They cannot stand for this and exclude trans women. That is not okay. And they're going, with Chiga, it's so frustrating. I've met Chiga. Like, I've talked with her. I've had fun conversations with her. I've gone to the karaoke nights at Bar Goldfinger. I have good memories there. To discover that Chiga is actually transphobic, does not believe trans women are women, is a betrayal, like a personal betrayal. It hurts, and it kind of makes me just fucking furious because I know this person. I've met them. I have seen them before. And it's so fucking infuriating. And frustrating when someone you know really cares about the things that they believe in, but then it turns out that there's this fucking one thing. There's this discrimination, this hidden kind of discrimination and prejudice that is within them. Oh, it's Mm. And okay, another reason why, but I still have hope. And here's why. In case you didn't notice, my title is From Kentucky to Tokyo. And I will admit straight up, I have not always been a good trans ally. Honestly, didn't even know that transgender and things were even like a thing in life until, I don't even know, until I went to college, I want to say. Like, I'd heard the word before, but I didn't understand it. I did not understand what it meant to be a trans man or a trans woman, or the idea of gender as fluid, and etc., etc. Didn't know. Didn't have any idea. It really wasn't until I went to Lexington, Kentucky, which is like the liberal oasis of Kentucky, and I started meeting trans individuals. I started going to drag bars semi-regularly. And then I started having conversations, getting educated, became a feminist, started realizing that yes, trans individuals exist, and they are indeed fighting for rights, and etc. And then, once I became educated and I understood what was going on, it really helped. But even in Japan, even after university, I was still kind of a shitty person in terms of like understanding trans people. And I'm not entirely sure because I haven't rewatched it yet, but you may even be able to go back to my bisexual coming out video. And I kind of talked about how I had this thing back in the day where I envisioned that bisexuality meant that like you weren't attracted to trans people. And I don't think I ever said in the video, but that's not correct. That is an inaccurate representation of what bisexuality means and pansexuality, because many people assume that if you're bisexual, you don't date trans individuals, but if you're pansexual, you do, and that's not what that means. Bisexuality, it's really just semantics. Bisexuality means that you will date anyone who has gender or no gender, and then pansexuality is the idea of regardless of gender, you will date somebody. Regardless, bisexual or pansexual, if you don't date trans people, if you think that trans people have to be a certain way for you to date them, you're just kind of transphobic. Now, we can get into that whole debate about trans and dating and consent. But the fact is like, if you think that I will never ever date a trans individual, that's kind of transphobic. Like, you should, like, how do you even know in some cases? And then for other cases, it's just a matter of you having a uneducated kind of ignorant idea of what it means to be trans or what it means to date a trans person. The fact is I am bisexual. I will date literally anybody. Personality is the number one thing that matters to me. If you're not an asshole, I will date you. Now, once again, I think for me, that's what it means to be bisexual. Many people define bisexuality differently, but still, if you're like, I will never ever date a trans person, you're kind of biphobic, and you're possibly turfy a little bit. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. For now, for Goldfinger, I know that I was not always a good trans ally. I know for a fact that I've said probably some pretty shitty things in the past. Can't think of like a good example. I can't think of a good example right now, but purely things out of ignorance, because when I was a child, did not know it was a thing. And then in university, was learning things, said some shitty things, got called out on it, learned from those experiences. I still get called out on things. Every once in a blue moon, I'll say something and people will go, that's kind of shitty. And I go, is it? And then I will learn that in fact my behavior is not okay. I educate myself and then I change. And that's what I want for Goldfinger. I don't want people to cancel Bar Goldfinger. Boycott for now, until it's trans friendly, yes. Call out Shiga Ogawa for her trans exclusionary practices, yes. Complete and utter bankruptcy, going out of business and disappearing off the face of Nichome, no. I don't want that. I think that there is hope. I think that Shiga Ogawa can in fact be a good person and realize and educate and come to understand that this is not okay and that this is dangerous and that the consequences of these actions are going to be huge. So possibly could be okay. Don't want them canceled. Just want them to learn, want them to understand, and want them to change. That's what I want. I want a boycott until such time as it is understood that trans individuals should be allowed to go to the women-only event and be accepted, not tolerated, not put up with, but accepted, allowed to be there and to have fun. It's a fucking bar. It's not supposed to be in Fort Knox. You should be able to go there, have a good time, have some drinks, and then go to Arty Farty or Annex where you can actually dance. That's what Bar Goldfinger's all about. Anyway, so that's a whole other thing. But we have to have these spaces that allow for people to be safe. If you're excluding them from these spaces, you're just letting them go into dangerous territory, or you're basically putting out the message that it's fine, in your opinion, if these people don't have safe spaces. No, it's not okay. Anyway, so like I said, based off of my past experience, I think Chiga can change. And I think Chiga should be able to have redemption. I think that Chiga should be able to have the bar and be able to change. That's what I believe. I also want to say this because I've seen some of this shit on Twitter and that's not okay. I don't think Chiga should die. Any kind of death threats that you put at Bar Goldfinger's owner makes you a shitty person. If you're putting rape threats out there, you are a shitty person. If you're somebody who is trying to, like, say, I'm gonna go vandalize the bar and have a fun time trashing the place, you're a shitty person. All three situations, you should be arrested for threatening somebody's life. That's not okay. Violence ain't the answer. Calling somebody out on their bullshit is the answer. Telling them that they should have consequences for their shitty actions is okay. Violence is not the answer. Going to the bar, causing a fucking scene is not okay. Like, violent scene. If you want to go there and say, I'm here because I wanted to say that I don't agree with your trans exclusionary radical nonsense, nah. But if you're going there with a baseball bat and you're going to trash the place up, as some people have kind of implied on Twitter, fuck you. Do not fucking do that. That is not okay. Violence? No. Calling them out, telling them that you don't agree with it? Yes. That is okay. And emailing them, hitting them up on Twitter, Facebook, telling them that you don't agree with this, you're not going to go and have their business, you're not going to be a part of their lesbian nights or any other night, until they change their policies and they understand and apologize for what they've done to trans women and for the pain that they have caused Ellen McCready. Like, that's a whole thing that I think really deserves an apology, instead of doubling down and becoming cisgender only, or if you don't fit the criteria, we'll kick you out. That ain't okay. So, apologies on a change in policy. And I want to see Chiga Ogawa change. I want to see some proactive actions being taken in order to make it a trans safe space. And if not, I would say, then no, don't go to Bar Goldfinger, don't support the business, and don't allow them to have a say in how the LGBTQ community works. I don't think they should go to Tokyo Rainbow Pride if they cannot stand with the T. I do not believe that if you are trans exclusionary, radical, and feminist, that you should be a part of Pride. If you're going to exclude people from the acronym because you think that they don't belong, fuck you. Marsha P. Johnson threw a brick into the Stonewall Club. And because of Marsha P. Johnson, that is why we got to have what we have today. In June, it is Pride Month because of Stonewall riots in New York, and because that is when, June 26th, my birthday, is when America had same-sex legal rights put up. That's why it is such an important month in America. The fact that this shit is going on in June is kind of atrocious and kind of pisses me the fuck off. On that note, and if you didn't know, sorry, Marsha P. Johnson, transgender, trans woman. So, yeah. On that note, I'm done. I'm done talking about this for a little while. I'm actually gonna start crying. When I get angry, my reactions are not to actually just relax, it's to start crying after I've ranted. It hurts. It hurts in a way that I really just can't describe about all this. So, this was long. It was a little bit rambly, but there it is. So, yeah, I love all of you. I'm gonna end this with, if you are a trans woman or a trans man or trans non-binary, genderqueer, anything in between, you are valid. You deserve a safe space, or safe spaces. You deserve love and affection, and I stand with you. And I hope, I don't know, I hope that like my voice in the sea of like thousands of people somehow helps. And yeah, all right. See you guys in the next video. It will be a little bit more upbeat and less ranty. Goodbye.